Welcome back, everybody, for our next session. So this is where we are going to celebrate our members' prints. And for one, I think prints are really, really important. And this is our second print portfolio, which is our Digital Imaging Group's exhibition in a book. Backstory to this competition was that pre-pandemic, we used to hold print selections at our AGM of mounted prints. However, this was becoming expensive for members to print and post in their 3 images, but increasingly difficult for us to find locations and move the resulting exhibitions around. So post-pandemic, first of all, we came up with a different format of just sending in unmounted prints, which we then mounted and still tried to do the exhibitions. But having lost our exhibition secretary, we decided to come up with a new idea altogether, and that was when the print portfolio was born. This way, we get to select your images, and this is really important, by seeing the real prints. And only downside to that is when we have to reproduce them in the book, of course, then we lose the pleasure of seeing them on those original papers as original prints. And we did consider the print quality as we were assessing, or as our selectors were assessing. So print quality and the choice of papers was relevant. But on the upside, we get to select 30 beautiful printed images for our portfolio. And for everybody who enters, they get a catalogue. And for the 30 winners, or the 30 that are selected to be in the portfolio, they actually get the book itself, which is quite a nicely produced little book. So anybody and everybody gets through, anybody that enters gets through to round 2. But we'll hear a little bit more about that in a moment. So we're going to start off by showing you the top 50 images. So we ask them, the selectors, to get down to the top 50 images. So first of all, we're going to start off by showing you those 50 images. Then I will introduce you to our selectors and to our competition secretary. So first, let's enjoy the top 50. Thank you, Neil. So that's the top 50. And personally, and I hope you feel the same, I feel really proud of the work that we produce in the digital imaging group. I mean, we've just seen some beautiful photography. And when we saw those prints on the day, some of them were really stunning. So let's be proud and let's celebrate. So those 50 photographers are now wondering whether they're going to be in the top 30. We will move on. But first of all, I'd like to thank and introduce our 3 selectors. We have Derwood Pamphilon, who is one of our selectors, and Alison Cawley here with us today. And Sue O'Connell, who was our 3rd selector, can't be here with us, unfortunately, because she's actually taking time out to select the Southampton Salon today. We all met at the RPS house for the selection. And as I say, we will be meeting our 2 selectors that are online today. But first, I want to introduce you to Robin Price, who is our competition selector, competition secretary, beg your pardon. So Robin, if you would just like to unmute and open your microphone, put your video on, so that people can identify with the person that did the work behind the scenes.
It's a bit slow.
That's it. That's the real you.
Clicking too much. Impatient again.
Okay, right. So that's Robin. He managed all the selection. So we'll come back to him in a little minute. And the other person that's a member of the team on selection day was Neil. And we thank Neil Taylor for his contribution as well. We're going to start off the top 30 by running a little video that I made earlier this week with Sue. Because she can't be here, what we ask of each of our selectors is to choose a few of the prints that they saw on the table, and you'll see a little bit more about that in a minute. And we ask them to choose some that they will actually comment on today. So before we start the actual presentation of the 30, just because it makes running order a little bit more easy to cope with, I'm going to ask Neil to run the little video that we made with Sue earlier this week, please. Good morning, Sue. It's lovely to see you again. And thank you so much for taking the time to make this little recording with us, because obviously normally we ask our assessors, our selectors, to come to the award ceremony, but I quite understand that because you are judging or selecting the salon for Southampton exhibition, the fact that we're making this little video is a wonderful way to do it. So thank you very much indeed. Over to you. Have your say about the prints that we saw on the selection day, and then we'll look at the images and you can comment on them as we go through them.
Well, lovely. Thank you very much, Janet. It's really nice to be given this opportunity, because it's always sod's law that there'll be a clash of the diary, and I would have very much liked to be part of the unveiling. However, I wanted to say what a pleasure it was to judge this this set of images. Assess, I think, select, because apart from the variety, it really was a very high standard of work and very different. I think that as a judge, you tend to see a certain sameness, let's say, in competitions, and this really wasn't true of the digital group. There was some really interesting and unusual work, I thought. That's the first thing. The second thing was to say how much we as judges enjoyed the attention to detail that your members had given to the print quality and the paper. It's quite a luxury for a judge to be able to look closely at an image and the choice of paper. We were able to do that, and we really did enjoy that. Just painful to have had to pare it down from such a high number of very good images to this select group of final exhibition work.
Okay, so thank you for that. Yes, I mean, I obviously was there with you, and some of them were printed just beautifully. They really were. And it makes such a difference, doesn't it, to the images when you see them really well printed and you can put them in your hand and enjoy them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, let's start off with looking at the 4 images that you've chosen to comment on. On the award ceremony, our other 2 judges will be coming on and talking about the ones that they've selected. But obviously, for the sake of the video, we're starting off with the 4 that Sue has chosen. So these are the first of our 30 that will go into the print portfolio. So let's see if we can have a little share. So this is the first one, Sue.
Okay, so this one is called Mother and Cub Chase. And I think it's a stunning image, as I'm sure you'll agree. And it's one that had the judges gasping when they first saw it. It's not the usual savanna type habitat that you think of when you think of leopards. And in fact, this stark rocky backdrop makes for a very dramatic setting. So 2 beautiful wild creatures with the added drama of this interaction between mother and cub. So it's called Mother and Cub Chase, but you find yourself wondering, is she chasing? Are they both fleeing? Is the mother urging the cub on? So there's lots to think about and be drawn in by. Design-wise, very nice, dramatic, dynamic diagonal, and the creatures fill the frame. And to me, it has something of the pictorial quality of a 19th century painting. Wonderful eyes as well. They really, although they're small in the frame, they do, especially the cub's eyes, catch your attention. So overall, beautifully captured and processed, and I think it's a very fine image.
Lovely, thank you. And the next one is?
So it's not unusual to see abstracts of water or reflections of water, and some of them work better than others. I think you do really need something to catch your eye with these images, but this one is of a very high order. It's particularly good because it's a straight shot, I imagine, made into a fascinating abstract. I feel there's great dynamic and force with this image. Superb quality print, I can assure you, with the finest detail in all areas. So it can be hard to decide how to frame an image like this. There's usually several possible scenarios, but I think this is an inspired crop and the square format works to perfection. Absolutely lovely color palette of rust and gray, maybe a hint of green, all set against this stark black background. So it's an enigmatic image. I think you can look at it over and over again, and you're going to find more to enjoy each time.
Thank you. And here's your next one.
Water again, which I must admit is a surprise to me because it's not usually my thing, water, but these 2 I found were exceptional. So here we have a waterfall, and most waterfall images are taken at a distance, understandably, so that the viewer can enjoy the scale and the setting in the landscape. But here, the photographer's taken this slightly bold choice, really, of homing in on details at the foot of the waterfall, and those are details that we probably would have lost otherwise in a wider shot. Stark contrast then between the delicacy of the cascading water and the rough solidity, brutal solidity of the rocks below. So it has drama, it has atmosphere, and I think you can almost hear the thunder of that water crashing down. I also think it's got a beautiful balance as an image with, especially between the two cascades of water, one very fine on the right, and then the broader three on the left, works very, very well. Technically excellent, slow shutter speed has worked to perfection. And I think the choice of the square format and the monochrome approach really enhance this image.
Lovely, thank you. And this is the last of yours.
So this one's called I'm Off, and it's interesting, it's intriguing, it's minimal, and it's rather painterly. Maybe me, but I see a sort of David Hockney-esque style here. We've just got three figures, all quite separate and doing their own thing. No connection, but they are intrinsic to the design, which makes a strong triangle of black silhouettes really against the backdrop. And in addition to that, I found looking at it more that they give me, there's a slight melancholy about this, a sort of sense of isolation in the urban landscape, these three characters with no connection. So it's a simple geometrical setting with lines, rectangles, squares, and the triangles. There's a triangle reflected also in the water on the patch there. Delicate, pleasing color palette, grays and beiges. So I think it's an unusual image, and it's deceptively simple. It's a photographer with a very short touch, and I feel personally that it packs quite a punch.
Super. Thank you very much. Let's just have a little look at those. That was the Mother and Cub Chase by Helen Otten, The Wave by Susan Kendrick, The Foot of the Fall by David Alderson, I'm Off by Linda Marshall. So those are the first 4 of our 30 that we're going to go on and see. But Sue, thank you so much. I appreciate that by the time we're watching this video, you are going to be ensconced in selecting the images for the Southampton Salon. So enjoy that day with them. And again, thank you very much indeed for being with us and for making the selection.
Thanks so much. My pleasure. And congratulations to everybody, by the way. Not only the top 30, but some wonderful work.
Super. Thank you very much, Sue.
Thanks.
Okay, so we now know 4 of our 30, but those that are working with me behind the scenes today will be slightly cross with me because I did things out of turn a little bit there. So I'm going to revert, guys, just to help you understand what I'm doing. I'm going to revert to the PowerPoint 1 and invite both Robin, Derwood and Alison to come online. So open up your audio and visuals and we will work through. Thank you very much indeed. I can see you're all online. So the first thing I'm going to do is just hand over, having thanked our 3 selectors, I'm going to hand over to just Robin to have a few words about the competition.
It was the second year of the print portfolio, but for me, it was the first year. So I had quite a steep learning curve to get into this, and I thank the people that supported me in running this competition, or the selection, sorry. It's not a competition, selection. I thank the entrants who sent in all these 387 images for me to check every morning when the postman arrived, and that was a pleasure that the rest of you won't get, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. But it was a great experience and a great thing to do on behalf of the membership. A few facts and figures there. We had 23 overseas entrants, 106 UK entrants, giving us the 387 images to review. And in reviewing those, We had our wonderful three judges. If we go on the next slide. And the first process that they went through was to select one image from each of the entrants who sent in three images. So we picked the best of each entrance to give us a set of the 137 images. And this is Derwood picking one. And then once we got it down to one image per entrance, we laid all the images out on a table, and then it was get rid of these. Trying to get this down to 50 images, which I think in itself, it's a task I wouldn't have liked to have done, because the strength of the images that we had was, as Sue already said in the video, was really strong. There were some brilliant images in there. So getting it down to 50 was tough. And then it got tougher, because in the third round, we used these numbers to say we want 30 from these. So 20 unfortunate images had to go. And I think that was really a big challenge for the judges. They ummed and ahed, and it wasn't unanimous at all times. There was compromise and there was talking, but at the end of the day, they did it and got it down to the 30, of which you'll see in the slideshow coming up. I think the end selection was a fair reflection of what the judges it was a fair reflection of the strength of the members' images across DI. And I'll like thank all the entrants for sending me your wonderful images, and I'll see you all next year.
That's great. Thank you very much, Robin. That is very true. We actually increased the number of entrants in this past year from the previous year. So hopefully that will happen again next year, and we'll have even more prints to select next year. Now I'm having a little spot of trouble here, because there we go. I need to get back to our three selectors, or our two that are online. First of all, can I introduce you to Derwood? Hi there, Derwood. Good morning to you.
Thanks, Janet. A pleasure to be here and to be involved in the selection.
Super, thank you. And to Alison. Good morning, Alison.
Good morning, everyone. It was a wonderful day.
That's true. We did have a good time, which I think is always a good show when it works as smoothly as it did. So we're now going to run the PowerPoint presentation for the actual 30 that we selected. And as we go through, Derwood and Alison will comment on them as we get to the ones that they have selected. So as I say, Sue's done her comments already, and we've seen those, and Alison and Derwood would do theirs. So Grasses by Martin Addison. This is, I thought, a delightful print, and it was printed on beautiful paper. So well done, Martin. That really looked good on the day and has got through into the portfolio. This one, Coming to the End, by David Pearson. I love this, and all the assessors did, and Derwood is going to comment on this one.
Thanks very much. And just to reiterate that it was a wonderful day to be a part of, and just to add my congratulations to everyone who submitted, and obviously to those who got through to the final stage. It was hard to do this. The quality was excellent, composition, originality, technical quality, and an absolute delight to be able to see the prints up close. And the standard of printing was just wonderful. This is called Coming to the End, and it's superb, isn't it? It's a very striking image. We were all very impressed with this. It's powerful. It tells a story, and you can take it literally. beautifully composed, and there's a nice sort of line going through the picture, and this elderly man on his journey. It's a good mono. It's got a nice tonal range, but the sort of metaphor in here is that that he might actually be coming to the end. He might not make it to the sign, and you feel there's pathos in this picture, and you feel sorry for him. I mean, you might not if he turned around and you saw it that way, but viewing it this way, it's very striking, very strong.
I'm sure David waited for the right person to walk into that picture for him because it's just so perfect. Fishing Hut by Hugh Rooney. Alison.
Hello. This immediately sounded a chord with all of us. It was an exquisite image, beautifully prepared, and it's absolutely stunning. The craftsmanship that has gone into it is superb. We've got delicate light in this and subtle reflections. We've got hints of cloud in the sky. Yet when you look in closely at the hut itself and the structure, there was wonderful detail. It was been skillfully printed, grabbed my attention immediately. And the tranquility that the photographer invokes in the image comes across to the viewer hugely. Wonderful piece of work. Congratulations.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Alison. We actually had Hugh speak to us on our mono presentation workshop earlier this week. So most of us who listened to that talk will actually appreciate now how he produces these beautiful images and the little bit of work that goes in to making sure they're masterpieces. Next one is Cuba by Barry Senior. We saw that one actually as when we were showing earlier on the selection of 1 from 3 was actually the one that was in Derwood's hand at that point in time. But here we see it full screen and see the pleasure of the capture, and we know exactly where it is by the juxtaposition of this old car and the little child in the picture as well. Art in Engineering by Paul Herbert. This one actually got quite a lot of discussion with the assessors on the day. It's very intriguing. At first, and I admit I thought that it was a bodyscape, but then you see Art in Engineering, you read the title and realise that you've probably misinterpreted a little bit, but nevertheless, it's still a very delightful image and well produced. Another one for Derwood is The Indian Palm Squirrels by Susan Champion.
I just love this. We all did. I don't know anything about Indian palm squirrels, but it's a gorgeous image. It's a lovely symmetrical composition with great detail in the squirrels, and you sort of wonder what they're saying to each other. You know, they're different animals. They've sort of got this common meeting point over a nut or two, and you wonder what the dialogue might be. That's my sort of anthropomorphic addition to this. And the background itself is just delightful. It's got shades of, you know, going back to my sort of childhood paint box of sort of burnt umber, raw sienna ochres, and it's perfectly subdued. And there are trees there as well. It just creates great balance in the image, you know. And quite often, I think when we're assessing images, you know, you sort of think, is this one that I would put on my wall, you know, and be happy to sort of walk by several times a day? And the answer, absolutely yes. It's a delight. So congratulations to Susan.
Thank you. The Foot of the Fall by David Alderson. We've already heard Sue comment on this one. So that was a lovely image, again, beautifully produced, beautifully printed, and well worth being included in our portfolio. And the next one is Barn IR by David Shrivner. Alison.
I make no secret of the fact that I do love my infrared, and I was absolutely delighted to see there's a fellow lover of infrared work. Here we've got the most gorgeous sky, which lends itself to this format, but it's the quality and detail that the photographer has captured within those grasses in the foreground. There's subtle light and shade. There's just a hint of movement in those grasses as well. And it's not a sort of full-blown, in-your-face, stark infrared. It's quite subtle here. At first glance, it might have just been, is it just another monochrome? But then as you look around and take in the detail, you realize it is a full infrared. The gorgeous light on the tree behind one of the barns on the left-hand side. The barn itself isn't the most attractive of buildings, but we had the luxury of looking closely at it, and there was still some wonderful detail within those old barn doors. It's a fabulous piece of work, and I enjoyed it enormously, and it's worthy of its inclusion in the final 30.
Thanks, Alison. And the next one is Another Place by Lynn Collins. I love the fact that we've now got the juxtaposition of one of the Gormley men and the wind turbines in the distance. It's a great depth of field on this one and lovely colour palette. Mary's Shell by Alan Collins. I'd not ever seen this sculpture, but Robin lives up in the north somewhere, up in the Midlands north somewhere, so it was a familiar one to him, but an intriguing image and well produced. So thank you, Alan, for showing us Mary's Shell. Petal Ballerina by Linda Piper. Very delicate one here, and beautifully, again, beautifully printed. I can remember holding this one and thinking how delightful it was. Very simple, but nevertheless, the simplicity is perfect to offset the shape and the style of this particular image. Anxiety by Richard Lavery. We did have a good showing of people from our international membership this year. And Paul is in France, and this is an example of one of the images that was sent in by our overseas members. Smart Move by Rob Morgan, another one from our overseas members, this one from Australia. Obviously a very decisive moment to just capture that vehicle, perfect position within these lovely striking lines. Human Trafficking by Jonathan Vaines. I can actually see we've got a bit of a problem on this one. I don't know quite why LRPS has crept in there, because Jonathan doesn't have letters after his name. So before we take this any further, we need to remove the LRPS and make sure that we don't misrepresent Jonathan in that way. So fascinating image, so typical of Jonathan in truth, because it's always something a little bit different and it challenges us. Up and Gone by Richard Hall. Over to you, Derwood.
Well, this is a wonderful image. There's terrific storytelling in this, I feel. You know, it sets a scene with the unmade or badly made bed and things left on the bedside table, the curtains, you know, letting light through but not yet drawn. And so you inevitably wonder what's happened, what has happened here, an assignation, or just somebody staying overnight and getting up and going to the bathroom, or dashing off in a hurry and leaving their phone and a magazine or something behind. But the whole thing is beautiful. It's just, the tones are soft, and you know, just holding this print and looking at it close up was an absolute delight. It's the highlights are really nicely subdued. As I say, the overall tonal composition's lovely. The tonal range is great, and it's a soft and elegant image, and I absolutely loved it. So congratulations to Richard.
Thank you. Mother and Cub Chase with Helen Otten, we've already seen and had the comments from Sue on this one. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce this one, Corroboree by Barbara Brown from Australia. So another one of our overseas members. And again, this was a beautiful image. And interestingly, when we accept images from our overseas members, we actually have them printed for them, because obviously posting in from overseas is very, very difficult for them. And so to encourage them, we do the printing for them. Now, I look at this picture and know that it would be beautiful on a permajet, slightly textured paper. And I wanted to see it on that. It looked good enough, obviously, for our selectors to put it into the top 30, but it was printed on luster paper on the day. And I just so much wanted this one to be on a proper textured image, which is what it deserves. This is one I'd hang on my wall. I love it. Great Grey Owl, beg your pardon, Landing by Maggie Bullock. Alison.
This immediately grabbed my attention, and in my part of the world, its nature photography is very, very strong. So the bar is already set high, but this is absolutely stunning. The detail that the photographers captured throughout, the plumage is beautiful, and you get a sense that those eyes, the owl's eyes, are really following you. It's locked its gaze onto you, and wherever you are in the room, it is keeping you in its sights. The wonderful detail also in the shadows shows up pretty well here, but in the print itself, it was very delicate, yet it was still there. And overall, the composition and capture of the owl, with its wings spread like it is superb. And as I say, for me, because of the nature work in my part of the world being so strong, this really did come up to what I was hoping to see. Fabulous piece of work.
I do know that Maggie's won some international competition with that just recently. So well done, Maggie.
And richly deserved, richly deserved.
Agreed. Lonely Wait by Linda Morris. An interesting image, isn't it? Something that we can so easily walk past and not see as an image at the time. So well done, Linda, for spotting it and taking the shot. Taj Photographer by Norman Wiles. I really thought this was a delightful composition and very well, again, very well printed. And the fact that he's given us a subject that we see very, very frequently, and yet he's produced it in such a unique way. And I would imagine, one could always get it wrong when one makes sweeping statements, that it's a combination of an ICM and a still image. So it's been beautifully worked, beautifully put together, and the end result, I think, was very, very good. And Norman, you've got a place in the top 30. Canal in Winter by Cliff Spooner. It's a different take, isn't it, on canals? And I don't know whether it's Venice or not. To me, it feels like Venice, but possibly it isn't. I don't know. But to see it in these conditions is enlightening, really, to see the way that we can take bad weather and yet produce beautiful work. So thank you, Cliff. Swan Lake by Janet Haynes. Derwood.
I was just saying we didn't look at the reverse of these prints when we were assessing them, or
Thank you for saying that.
or selecting those that we were going to comment on. But this was such an obvious pick for me. As a dance photographer, I suppose my photographs are rather straighter than this, but I just love the way this image has been put together with, you know, the title of Swan Lake and the dancer sort of in three different positions through it, and it all harmonizes beautifully with the swans as well. It's a very strong image. It's very strong composition, and yet at the same time it's soft, and there's a great energy in the image. The model dancer who's yeah, her natural skin tones, I think, have been adjusted just that they harmonise perfectly with the other elements in the picture. Again, one I'd be delighted to have on the wall, and one a lovely, lovely print quality, technically excellent. So yeah, well done, Janet. That's great.
Well, thank you, Derwood. Okay, Cascade by Maggie James. Now, this one, I personally feel, I don't know if the two assessors agree with me here, it was much, much better in the print than it appears here. It really was beautifully printed and exquisite on the day. And yes, it looks lovely here. I'm not saying it doesn't, but there's a good example of how much better an image looks when it's printed.
Absolutely.
Do you not agree, Derwood?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was very, very striking when you're looking at the print, but still a beautiful image, and those lovely soft blues and greys, just delightful.
Yeah. Yeah. Bit of fun. It's Mine by Sheila Haycox. Alison.
If I could have taken one print home, this would have been it. The minute I saw it, it made me smile. I had a pretty nightmare journey back home because of road closures, and this picture kept me smiling. Quite what inspired Sheila in creating this image, I'd love to know. It just works for me on every level. It's amazing the thought process that's gone in behind it. And this is the beauty, I think, of the portfolio competition. It does attract different sorts of work, different subject matters, and it's a sort of work that you probably wouldn't see in your many salons around because it is so different. And the quality of the printing, it was superb, really rich, deep blacks. And the detail in the lady, there was some wonderful detail in what was her dress, her arms. It was, for me, it was magical. And maybe it just appeals to my theatrical nature, but I love this. And I'm so pleased it made the top 30.
Well, one thing that we will have the pleasure of is every one of the 30 selected photographers' images, we ask them to comment on it for the portfolio book. So hopefully when we get the portfolio, Alison, we'll learn a little bit more about this one from Sheila
so.
in the words.
I'd love to, putting it not, and I hope it won't be taken flippantly, I'd love to know what pills Sheila's on, because that is what your average, that is the creative process of that is awesome. But then that may be my theatrical nature.
Thanks. I'm Off by Linda Marshall, another one that we've had commented on by Sue, and another very delightful image and well worth being within our 30. Saatchi Stairs by Melanie Chalk. This one again, beautifully printed, lovely, lovely colour palette, and was in from the start, from the three, and there was never actually any hesitation or debate about this one. It seemed to stay in on the table all the way through. So well done, Melanie. Questions in Relationships by Steve Reynolds. Dermot.
Yes, thanks. This is it was one of the great features of the day, as I think you've already said, just the variety of images, their overall strength, of course, and this is a really cleverly thought out, highly original image, beautiful design. It was beautifully printed, and very very well balanced. The two subjects of this seem to be just avoiding eye contact. And I really like the fact that the blonde figure on the left, as we look at it, has inverted black question marks, and vice versa in the other figure. Lovely tones throughout this. It's, as I say, it's soft, well balanced. Yeah, absolutely no doubts in putting this one through into the last 30. So yeah, congratulations to Steve.
Thank you. The Wave by Susan Hendrick, another one that was commented on by Sue, and again another one that really although it looks good here, looked even better as a print. So well done, Susan. The World by Linda McGregor, an interesting architectural image for us to see here, and well, I feel quite well positioned within the frame, and the lovely colour palette just enhances it as well. The Pink Umbrella by Candia Peterson, one of our members from the USA, Alison. So please, your comments.
I was immediately struck by this image, and bearing in mind it was from one of our overseas members, so it was printed on the luster paper, because I just felt a different paper would really enhance it even more. But what I've enjoyed about it was the impressionistic feel that the photographer has crafted here, however they've achieved it. But you get a good sense that it's an absolutely torrential rain, and we had the luxury of being able to look at it up close and personal, and you realise that the umbrella had been blown inside out. You've got the billowing wind of the transparent yellow waterproof. You do get a sense that the conditions were absolutely atrocious, but also the bare tree in the background. We now know it's taken in autumn, but it's the reflections and it's the overall mood and ambience that this picture created for me, bearing in mind that the photographer didn't have the luxury of being able to print it on perhaps a paper of her choosing. So I'm delighted that it managed to get through and get into the final 30 and into the portfolio. A very different image that stood out for me.
Thank you, Alison. I think it's worth saying that whilst we do not give the selectors any names or titles when they're assessing, we did tell them when they were overseas members, quite simply because we'd asked them to consider whether they were on the correct papers or not. And this was an example where perhaps the luster was okay, you know, don't get me wrong, it looked a really nice print, but if it had been put on a really fine quality
absolutely
paper,
it would have lifted it even more. But it's a compromise and a word, you know, it still showed it off just how good it was.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So congratulations to all of you who have got through to that top 30. And is there anything else, Alison or Derwood, that you would like to add before I just conclude this session?
Just my congratulations to those top 30, but you were pushed hard all the way. Every step of the way, you were pushed hard by the rest of the images. So by all means, be proud of your achievement, but some people missed out by the narrowest of margins, and maybe we can have a top 50 and make our lives a bit easier. But it was a wonderful experience and a wonderful day.
Okay, thank you, Alison. And Derwood, is there anything more you'd
well, I would
like to add?
just echo that. I mean, and you know, just huge congratulations to everyone who's made the final 30, and bad luck to the others. The images were all excellent to look at, and I think it's a really lovely and balanced selection of very fine images, which will look well in the portfolio. And thanks to yourself and to Neil and Robin and everyone else involved in making it a really good day, you know, and a joy to look at so much fine art.
Super, thank you very much indeed. So just to tell you what happens next, Robin will be in touch with each of the 30 of you who have been selected this morning, and we will ask for a few short words about your image, a couple of paragraphs. We won't have masses of room for loads of text, so please just keep it tidy to a couple of paragraphs, and then we need a selfie to go with it as well, so that we can start producing the portfolio. We're scheduling that for distribution towards the end of May, and each of the 30 photographers will get a hard copy, and all the other entrants get a catalogue of the same content. So thank you again to our selectors, Sue, Robin and Alison, and for the management of the process from Robin and from Neil. So if you've enjoyed this year's print portfolio, we hope that you too will enter next year, and who knows, maybe you'll end up in the print portfolio for 2026. So that concludes this morning's AGM and award ceremony session. We are a little bit overrunning. We should have finished this at 1 o'clock, but we've still got 3/4 of an hour to have our lunch, and we will resume this afternoon with our talk from Vanda Ravaleska. I knew I'd get that wrong. And we will start that at 2 o'clock promptly. So we look forward to welcoming you back this afternoon. Enjoy your lunch. Bye for now.